All right, so here we are with the BMW, and be doing two jobs really at once, which is I've got to do the front timing chain and the oil pump timing chain. So to do that, I got to pull the oil pan off, and on top of that, got to pull all this off to get to the top chain, or the front chain rather. And it'll require dropping the subframe and removing the subframe to get the oil pan out. So it's going to be a long job. This is going to be probably 3 days. So yeah, today we begin. So this is what it looks like to start. And by the end of the day, should have quite a bit done. We'll see how far we get. My goal is to get the engine supported and get the top torn down for the valve cover being off, and then removing the subframe today. If I get to that, I'm doing good. That should take me about 7 hours, so let's get to it. All right, so one of the first things I'm gonna do, because I know I'm gonna end up having to remove the steering rack. So in order to do that, I got to separate it from the steering shaft. And what that's going to do is I don't want to break the clock spring. So we come in here, make sure the wheel is straight, and then I'm going to use this to lock it so that it doesn't move. And the wheels are straight, steering wheel straight. And then I'll mark it on the bottom once I actually pull the steering shaft out, and this will prevent this from moving either left or right and potentially breaking the clock spring. So there it is. That's all it is. It's just held by pressure. That's not going anywhere. It's not on the steering lock. I don't want it that, because then it's going to move it to an undesired position. I want it straight forward. So now to be locked, now we can proceed with pulling everything else off. Axle nuts on both sides. I removed the center cap, put 3 bolts back in it, and then set it on the ground, and actually just use a torque bar to loosen them. Do the same thing on both sides, this one and the other side. So if you have this style axle, it doesn't come through the hub. It's slotted on the inside. So that being the case, you're just going to pop this out, and this is what's going to be inside it. Be the same thing for the other side. Then from the inside, you're actually able to remove your axle. So now I'm going to remove all the inner splash shields. This one I could leave because it's not going to affect anything, but there is one here. I've already removed it, and then need to remove this one and then this one, and you're going to end up needing to do that on both sides, this side and that side. So it's the same process. All right, so once you remove those splash shields, you're going to have something like this if you've got an F10. And so what I am going to be doing is removing the subframe. So what I need to do is remove this bolt, the tie rod end, the rearward lower control arm bolt, and then that will conclude removing everything from the suspension and hub side for this side. Of course, I'm still going to have all these other connections and some other things that I need to remove before I can lower it out, but those are the major components. Also, I forgot, I do have to remove that sway bar. I'm gonna drop it all the way out. I'm just gonna remove it from here, and that'll allow me to drop it. It's just gonna make it a lot easier. And on this job, anything to make it easier, even though it may be another bolt or two, is gonna be a big help. So now we're back to the top. My process for this is gonna be, now that I've got some of the preliminary things done on the sides, they're pretty much good to go as far as all the shielding. everything out of the way to be able to get to the bolts for the subframe that I need to drop and everything underneath. In order to do that, if you're going to drop a subframe, you need to support the engine. A lot of people say they use tow hooks. I'm using this bolt. It does go in there, it does thread in there, and it works just fine. By the time it's all the way down in there, it is the right height, and I just use it through a chain like this, and then I use a crossbar to support the engine. That needs to be done first. However, I'm not only doing the work on the bottom, I'm also doing the timing chain at the same time. What this means for me is I have a disadvantage where I can't just support the engine and then be done with it. I need to have access to everything underneath here so that while I pull the subframe, pull the oil pan off, I could get to the oil chain pump or oil pump chain and then time the engine at the same time. Like I said, I'm doing two jobs at once, basically. So in order to do that, I need to remove everything that I need to remove from here, set it at top dead center, break my hub bolt, lock the flywheel on the transmission, and then I can support the engine and then go underneath and do everything that I need to do. All of my preliminary work up here has to be done before I could do anything with dropping the subframe. Because once I support this engine and get that done, I'll need the access to be able to get to the chains. And if I have that bar up there, it's very difficult to work around it. So I'm not going to do that. So we'll get all this disconnected. Spark plugs come out, coil packs come off, fuel rail comes off, all the lines come off. There's not a whole lot more than that. I do have to get access to my Vanna solenoids because they got to come out in order for me to do the timing. So it's just going to be a lot of bolts. And so here we go. So first thing I did was remove all the coil packs. If you have a stock F10, you're not going to have all this. You're not going to have these connectors. I actually installed B58 coils. Mainly because mine failed and I didn't want to replace them with stock, so I did a B58 conversion. You're also not going to have these brackets if you have a stock F10 or N55. So for me, I've got to remove those. My buckets are not leaking. I know they're not leaking, and so I'll make a decision once I get it out whether or not I'm going to replace them. To be quite honest with you, I'm pretty decided I'm going to, just for the simple fact that I'm already here. I'm already, 20 something hours going to be into this job, and what's another hour? So anyway, that's it. Move those. Finish removing this wire harness, the connectors for all the fuel injectors, and then I'll work on getting the fuel rail out of the way. So this is the coil packs out, PCV. This is an aftermarket intake, so if you have the stock F10, it's just going to be a corrugated pipe running to this a little bit further down. Now at this point, there is one vacuum hose right here going to your boost solenoid, and it goes into the side of the valve cover here, and you just pull it out from there. Make sure to pull it out, so otherwise if you try to pull this valve cover up, it'll the nipple off the boost solenoid will probably break, so just be careful with that. All right, so at this point I got the ground straps out, all the wiring out, and it just literally is a whole loom. I just push it back through here and route it around the back of the valve cover out of the way, and then I leave this, and it'll give me just enough access to get the valve cover off. And again, don't even really need to do the valve cover. It's not leaking, neither are the trays, but I do need to get to the camshafts so that I could do the timing. That's the whole purpose of doing this. But at 140,000 miles, it's probably time to do the valve cover gasket anyway, I guess. So anyway, let's keep going at it. Right now, I'll end up taking the fuel rail out, get it out of the way. Just disconnects here, and main disconnect here. That goes to your high pressure fuel pump down there. And then it comes back to here, and then it's just held in by these clips here. And on this side, it's bolted in right there, there, and there. And once you do that, the entire fuel rail will lift up, and you could set it off to the side and it'll be fully out of the way. Then we can go around and get all of our torque spits and pull this valve cover out of here and be good to go. So I've got the engine hoisted. I've got just a little bit of tension to where I've actually raised the engine up some, just so I know that it's deloaded and that my setup isn't going to slide or move or whatever. On this particular bar, I don't really like it, but it is what it is. I don't have different leg lengths. Somewhere back there we do, but it's a little bit better anyway because I got it on these 2x4 blocks of wood, and that's going to allow it to not dig into the metal, all that stuff. I know some people are like, well, whatever, you're never going to see it. Oh well. I like it like that. It's good. It's not going to mar up the paint. It's not going to mar up the frame rail there, which isn't a huge big deal, but it also primarily gives me the access to raise this up enough. And as you can see, if I didn't do this first, having this bar on here, doing all this would be absolutely crazy to do. So that's why I did it in the order that I did it in. I know that a lot of people, you know, why does it not make sense to do that? But here's why. And so the timing is set. I'm able to do my timing from where it is. And I only have to access this front area before I lower the subframe, all that other stuff, crack my crank bolt, crank hub bolt, and then I'm able to do all my timing stuff without everything in the way. So that's why I did it. Trying to do the valve cover with all this in the way, I'm not saying it can't be done. I'm just saying it would be very hard, and this is a difficult job enough. Anything to do to make it easier, that's what we're gonna do. So now I'll be going underneath, and I'll be putting in the locker for the flex plate or the transmission flywheel, whichever. And I'll mark it first, then I'll put it in. I'll show you that, and then I'm going to come up here, and before I do anything else with the subframe, any of that, now that I know that my timing is correct, it's on top dead center, the piston's at top dead number 1, everything's good to go. What I'll do is I will crack the crank hub loose, and that'll be one less step out of the way, and then we'll move on. So these are 14 millimeter. This one is a 17 millimeter. And then, so all these go loosen. And then on the back side, you're gonna have the 4 bolts there. I've already removed them. 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are 11 millimeter. So then just like this, push out your connection here, take this up, and there you go. Fuel rail's out. Make sure to disconnect your fuel pressure sensor first on the back side of this fuel rail. All right, for all of these bolts, for holding down the valve cover, you're gonna need an E10. There's quite a bit of them all the way around the perimeter, and then a couple inside. Don't forget to take out the Vanos connector. And then on this back one, which is the most difficult one to get to, it's in the back. You can't see it. You're not going to be able to look at it. You're going to need something set up like that. I only have E10s in a 3 3/8, so I went from a 3/8 reducer to a 1/4 inch, small 4-inch extension and a swivel, and that was able to get it fairly easy. I've tried 3 different ways to do it. This is the only one that worked. It's a very tight spot, very difficult to get to that bolt. Probably took me longer to get that bolt out than the rest of everything else. So as soon as I get this connector out, or excuse me, this motor out, be good to go to pull the valve cover off. So here it is, the valve cover off. This is what the engine looks like after 140,000 miles. It does have some stuff in it that does not look good at all. Definitely was not for me, but someone along the way, whoever previous owner, wasn't very good on their oil change intervals, or they were using an oil that they really shouldn't have been using, and that's how you get that carbon deposits. So before I put it back together, I'm going to clean up as much as I can of it. And once I do get all this done, I'll end up running a flush through it. I know people say whatever, but in this particular case, it's probably what I'm going to do. That's what I'll get the main stuff off and then do it. So yeah, but here we are. Now I can support the engine across the top since I've got all this off and out of the way. And that'll give me the ability to then go and do the main work that I want to get done today, which is getting as much of the subframe out as I can, if not all the way out. So let's get to it. So now we're here, and I'm going to pull all the spark plugs out. And of course, if you're doing this, I've got this broken down. I do have it on top dead center, but I don't know if that is top dead bottom or top dead top center. And of course, if you're doing this, what you're going to need is a 12.14 thin well socket, because why? Because you have a special car, so you need special tools for everything. So this is what you need. And if it's not thin well, it's not going to fit down in there. You cannot use a regular socket. So I'm using a very long 1/4 inch extension. I don't use anything that is bendable or pliable. I want something that is not going to break or easily be broken. So I use this. You could also use a rod of some sort, whatever you choose to do. And one of the things about this, when we're timing it for top dead center so that we could put our bridge on here, is that the QR code will be up, which we do see that it is up. So this should be top dead center, which according to this, I could tell you how far down it is. It is at top dead center. So if I turn this crankshaft, which I'm about to do, I'm gonna turn it to the right like the engine spins, you'll see this start to go down. So we're no longer at top dead center, and obviously our marks have rotated. So I will go all the way around, bring it all the way back up to top dead center, and that will then allow me to put my bridge on. I've already got my hook in, and then after I put my bridge on for the timing, I'll put my stay on, and then I'm going to go underneath after I crack my bolt loose on my crank hub. Then I will go underneath and dismantle everything underneath. So here we are at top dead center. I've got the holding bridge holding tool, cam holding bridge tool, sorry, there, and it's locked in. I've asked several people, and especially a dude named Crank on YouTube from the UK. He's helped me with this question: is does the orientation of these matter when you're reassembling? And the answer is, from him, which he does this only specifically BMW, he says no. I just prefer to mark it and have 2 reference points to where I'm just going to put it back the same. I know he says it doesn't matter. What does matter are these front cam position gears. These do matter. If these are not correct, then the cam sensor is not going to pick it up where the cam orientation is. So you can see the cam sensor down there. And it uses these wheels to give the DME the position of the wheel. So if those are not in the correct spot, it is not going to be correct. And not even your timing may be on. You may be mechanically timed correct, but your electrical timing is going to be incorrect. All right, so when I told you need a mark underneath for the top dead center, this is what I mean. There's an access cover right here for your transmission to go onto the flex plate. And what I'm gonna do is on this one tooth is mark it. And then draw a straight line there. This way I know that that right there is top dead center for me on this engine. Permanently will be there, which is good. And then beyond that, because remember the crankshaft does not spin in unison with the camshafts once you take the crank hub bolt out. So then now you have to use this tool to lock the flywheel, insert it into here, and that's going to hold it while I loosen the crank hub bolt. So that's what we're going to do. All right, so before you pull the bolt out of the steering shaft, mark it. And then the other thing you'll want to do is take real notice of not moving this rack in or out. I mean, the steering rack's going to be kind of where it is anyway, just because of default, but it is possible to get the steering rack one way or the other. So make sure to just mark it there. That way it's not rotated to the left or the right, either way. And make sure that this does not make any revolution 360 either way. Otherwise it'll be wrong. So just make sure that orientation stays the same. And when it lines back up and you put the bolt back in, that it goes on that mark. Okay, this is the funnest part. You have some brackets that need to be taken off. There's one there with 2 bolts. There's one on the opposite side right there that you have to get from the inside. There's this one here. There's one on the other side. There's one back here. There's a bolt underneath there holding that bracket on. And once you do all that, all your brackets will be loose, at least for this side. And as you can see, I've got the subframe dropped a good, I don't know, 3 inches or 4 inches on this side. The only way that I found that you're able to even get to those brackets is you're going to have to drop the subframe in order to access them. Once it's up in there, you're not going to access them. So don't be afraid to drop down the subframe part on this side. I've got it held up with just a couple threads in each bolt on the other side. And it's perfectly supported. It's not going to just fall down. And I've completely removed all 3 bolts. There's no bolts in this subframe on this side anymore. I've taken loose all the brackets on this side, and as you can see, even the motor mount is completely disconnected. So this side is pretty good to go, and we'll see what happens next. But you can see how it's separated from the motor mount back there. So now to the next side. All right, starting to remove the subframe components, suspension components for the subframe. Removing the sway bar link. Inside there is a T40, and the outside nut is going to be a 17 mil. So I use a ratchet wrench to go over it, and then on a socket put it there, and that takes it off pretty easy. And then this one is going to be a 22 mil on this side of the nut, and a 24 on this side of the nut. That gets your lower rearward control arm out of the way. Did the same thing on this side. I just go back and forth while I have the tools in my hands, left to right, it'll be the same. And here's your sway bar link off this side. It's out of there. Now, what do I have up here? Only just the sway bar. So I want it that way because I'm gonna drop it out, and that's going to give me access to dropping out the power steering rack. So next, what I need to do is get the forward arms off this side. I'm leaving them on that side, and then the nuts for the tie rod ends on both sides. And then I'll be moving forward from there. I do have active steering, so that's why mine looks like this. Your sway bar may not have hydraulic active steering. Mine does, and I don't say that as a flex. I say that as in, like, it's just more stuff. So, you know, most stuff, more problems. So here we go. All right, so for the axle, obviously there's the diff here, and for me to drop the subframe, you got to be able to pull the axle out. So the way I did it was I just loosened the nut through the shock. That gives you enough room to push this way out. You can turn this arm that way, that arm that way. And then from in here, right here, you can take a pry bar and hit against the axle housing. You don't want to pry up against it. I just put it up against this lip on one of these protrusions and knocked it out. It comes right out. It's only held in by a C-clip right there. Very easy to get out. And then if you don't have this bolt out, which on this side I haven't taken it out just quite yet, what'll happen is you're not going to be able to get the axle out. And you may say, like, why is it that why do I want that axle out? For me, because I'm doing all this work, I want this subframe all the way down. And the only way that I could get it all the way down is to take the axle out. And it's just easier to have it out of the way for me, because I will be replacing the axle seals on both sides of the diff, and then the diff inner O-rings once I remove the diff from the oil pan. BMW decided it would be a great idea to run your axle shaft through the oil pan instead of incorporating it somehow into the transmission housing, or just having one diff. Anyway, that's how they did it. So this is how we're doing it. So this is what I mean by BMW put the axle through the oil pan. So that shaft goes through the passenger side diff all the way through the oil pan to the other side, and it goes in through there. I'll be replacing that seal. Goes through this side of the diff through the oil pan, and then comes over to this side, and then that axle picks up this side of the diff. So here we are. I'm ready to start removing the subframe now. I can start dropping the bolts. There are 3 that need to come out. One of them's tucked right up in here. 1, 2, and 3 right there. Same on the other side. And then of course, don't forget that one right there. And there's going to be some brackets, some other stuff that need to come out of the way also. So I'll make sure to do that. There's quite a bit of little bracketry, if you will say it that way. Some bracketry needs to be removed. So other than that, still going. I've got 4.5 hours in this, and I'll be quite honest, I think I'm way further along than what they call for and everything. I mean, still got a while to go. I'm probably halfway there, I think. But this job is not as bad as I think everybody makes it out to be. However, if you don't do this for a living every day, this is going to be a very difficult job. The other thing is, if you don't have a lift, I mean, you know, look, this is what has to come out to get to this point. This stuff wouldn't if you're just doing this. But all this. All of this has to be unbolted, you know? And so doing that on the ground, for those of you who have done this job on the ground, congratulations, because I don't think that there's a shot in the world that I would even attempt this on the ground. I just don't think I would.
Christian rapper, y'all look glitz and glamour. I don't mix with actors, y'all will miss the rapture. How you breaking bread with the devil? You in bed with the rebel? But you say you Christian, tripping, milk boys, y'all better get on my level. Look, what we even talking about? You act a fool, and I gotta call it out. Wouldn't have to do it if y'all would just walk it out. Seem like you care more about what's in your pocket now. You making your bed, now you sleeping it. So to the world, one day you'll be reaping it. You should be set apart, but you deep in it. You ain't gon' die to that flesh cause you feeding it. I know, you love the fame, you love the likes, you love the streams, ain't getting no strikes. To that devil you harmless, ain't calling now sin cause you mix with the darkness. We battle demons, you are collabing with Legion, now you